Well, let's bring in my panel now for more analysis. Joining me is former New South Wales Police Minister David Elliott and New South Wales Independent MP Tanya Mihalich. Hi to both of you. A very busy day, a busy week again. Here we go again. We're going to start with the coalition. Once again, it does get to a little bit repetitive after a while, but they're making it all about themselves. But they're back together, aren't they?
Well, it reminds me, this week is Valentine's Day. It reminded me of Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, who were divorced and married twice. But I have to hasten to add they ended up getting divorced again and one of them became an alcoholic. So,
no, well, we're probably heading down this way. We don't know.
I don't know how it's going to work. Listen, they did look awkward. Unfortunately, it's just going to feed the vote into One Nation, I think, because it'll spook Conservatives. Conservatives are, by virtue of their political ideology, conservative, and they don't like to see change. They don't like to see unnecessary change. And they're probably going to look at Pauline Hanson as somebody that's been around for a long time. She's seen as the senior Conservative. So my mob have to really work. And it's taken a distraction away from the attack on the Labor Party because we've got a Prime Minister who thinks that we're silly and will flip on a Royal Commission. We've got a Defence Minister that wants to sell Victoria Barracks. We've got a Treasurer who doesn't understand that inflation is caused by an oversupply of money. There's a lot to attack on. This is an issues-rich environment, but we're not. We're talking about whether or not we're going to be engaged again. Yeah,
exactly. The will they, won't they coalition. We don't know. And will they, won't they Liberal Party? Are they going to, look to topple Susan Lee? We don't know. I mean, you called it 2 weeks ago, didn't you, that it wouldn't be Andrew Hastie. You were very confident that it was going to be Angus Taylor. But he hasn't made a move yet. Why not?
And I think, look, a lot of that, can I just start by saying that was a very uncomfortable press conference between Susan Lee and David Elliott. And it just reminded me of two kids in a naughty corner that had a fight, in the sandpit in the back. So I think they were forced in that. I think that was terrible. Whoever the PR people are, they should have had them out and about, maybe chatting with ordinary punters out there and smiling and being friendly. This looked very staged and very painful. So to me, they're virtually finished. I think both of them are finished, if you want my view. Yes, 2 weeks ago I called that Andrew Hastie wouldn't run. I didn't think that he was quite ready. I'm not ruling him out for the future, but I think Angus Taylor is the answer for the Liberal Party right now. I think the problem the Liberal Party has is, and what Angus has, is that you actually need people within the caucus to start that process. He can't turn up and say to Susan, you've got to go. I've seen enough leadership spills, so has David, to know that you need people within the shadow cabinet to start resigning from positions.
Totally.
You need people within the caucus demanding change and actually holding press conferences and saying that they're not happy. And there's absolute silence right now from the Liberal Party. Nobody is actually saying one way or another what they want.
No.
And they're ignoring these horrific polls that clearly are starting to resonate, that there are people now moving away from the coalition and voting for One Nation. That's clear.
Yes.
And you have a disaster unfolding where I think for Angus, he's in a very difficult position where he needs people within the leadership around Susan Lee, within the shadow cabinet, to step up and say that they need change.
Yeah, and look, the longer this goes on, though, I mean, it's just such a bad look. And as I said, it's like conservatism in this country has gone off a cliff. It's a really, really sad sight. Let's talk about Jim Chalmers. He's repeatedly dodged questions about the contribution of growing government spending to inflation. Here he was this morning.
You said government spending was not a factor in the decision. Was it a factor?
Well, David, our political opponents and their acolytes are deliberately and dishonestly trying to conflate two different things.
Public demand, government spending, was still increasing, wasn't it, in the second half of last year?
No, public demand growth last year was slowing. It was less than a third of what it was the year before.
Public demand growth, but public spending, government spending, was growing.
Well, in both of our budget updates, David, we actually improved the budget.
I'm not sure how many more warnings the Treasurer needs, David. It's quite simple. Spending, inflation, it correlates one with each other.
Any Year 9 commerce student knows that spending by an entity like the government is going to force inflation onto working families. And 1 minute he's boasting about how much money he's spending in NDIS and other parts of the economy, and the next minute he's saying, oh well, we're a fiscally responsible government and spending isn't causing inflation. Meanwhile, his Reserve Bank CEO, his Reserve Bank governor, is saying, listen, you know, your government spending is a little bit up there. Ironically, of course, this is the same Reserve Bank governor who's spending $1.2 billion in upgrading her office in Martin Place, which is
not cheap.
which was originally budgeted for $260 million. So she's had a cracker of a blowout. Anybody who's built a house knows that you can probably double it, but she's quadrupled it and some. So it is a mess. But I think Jim Chalmers, if he's going to maintain the respect of the people of Australia, he's going to have to start telling the truth. And the reality is government spending is out of control. It's causing inflation. It ain't me causing inflation.
No.
It ain't the grocery bill that's coming out of my house or my neighbour's house. It is government spending. Yeah,
plus, of course, all the energy subsidies have now come to an end, and we knew that it was going to be a Band-Aid solution, Tanya, that once those end, it's going to have an impact on inflation. I'm not sure how Jim can keep treating us all like mugs, seriously.
Well, that's actually a good way to put it. Look, I think that it's very clear that Jim Chalmers is finally coming to the realisation this week that no one's going to protect his position on this. I think the governor has been pretty diplomatic until this week, finally kind of making it very clear that public spending is a huge issue. You've got a Treasurer who wants to be liked. That's part of the problem here. He has not reined in those big bureaucracies around Canberra at all. The RBA is a good example, but there's plenty of other bureaucracies out there that are spending way too much. The Treasurers need to be feared and revered by the larger public service. You are controlling the economic levers. There's no question of that, particularly in a small economy like Australia. You cannot state, the Treasurer can't say that what they're doing every day within the confines of Parliament isn't making a big impact on our economy. It is.
Of course.
All the economists are saying, we've been saying it here for months on Sky News as well, that public spending is out of control. There's no question of that. And we're going to, this is not going to be the first interest rate hike that we're going to see. We're going to see more this year.
Yeah, that's what the RBA said too. They warned that there will be more to come.
They've got no choice when it comes to managing monetary policy in Australia, because you've got a Treasurer that's just wiped his hands.
Exactly, absolutely, and keeps, you know, ducking and weaving at the very suggestion.